1960s R&B was not just music. It was sweat on the studio floor, cigarette smoke in the air, and voices that sounded like real life. These albums did more than top charts. They carried love, pain, pride, and revolution straight into American living rooms. From late-night soul to church-born grooves, this countdown celebrates the records that shaped the sound of a generation and still hit just as hard today. Number 15, Green Onions, by Booker T and the MG's Number 15. Kicks things off with an album that proves you do not need lyrics to speak directly to the soul. Released in 1962 on Stax Records, Green Onions arrived at a time when R&B was finding its groove in small studios and even smaller budgets. Booker T. Jones and his band were barely out of their teens, serving as the house musicians for Stax when they accidentally recorded one of the most recognizable sounds in music history. The title tracks started as a warm-up jam never meant to be a hit. But that Hammond organ line was impossible to ignore. It climbed the charts, crossed racial radio lines, and turned this instrumental album into a landmark release. You can almost picture it playing through a crackling jukebox in a Memphis bar, the room humming with quiet confidence and cool swagger. What makes this album timeless is its restraint. Every note breathes. Every groove gives you space to lean back and feel it. Green Onions became a blueprint for soul, funk, and even rock bands that followed. And if this cool, laid-back opener feels effortless, trust me, the emotional weight only gets deeper from here. If that was smooth Southern soul, the next album brings raw vocals and gospel fire straight from the heart. Number 14, Pain in My Heart by Otis Redding.
Pain in my heart.
Number 14 brings us to an album that sounds like heartbreak echoing through a southern night. Released in 1964 on Stax Records, Pain in My Heart captured Otis Redding at the very beginning of his recording career. Before the fame, before the anthems, when the emotion was still raw and unfiltered. This was not a polished superstar yet.
And now the day has begun to get tough.
This was a working-class voice learning how to carry the weight of the world. Most of the album leans heavily on ballads, and that was a bold move at the time. R&B radio leaned upbeat, but Otis leaned inward. His voice cracked, strained, and pleaded in ways that felt almost uncomfortable.
Now the day has begun to get rough.
Like listening in on a private conversation. Legend has it that he recorded many of these vocals in just a few takes, pouring everything he had into the microphone before exhaustion set in. You can almost feel the room when this record plays. Dim lights, a spinning ceiling fan. Someone sitting alone with their thoughts while the needle rides the groove. The horns sigh instead of shout, and the rhythm section moves like a slow heartbeat.
I mean, baby, will I get enough?
While the album did not explode on the charts immediately, it laid the emotional foundation for everything Otis would become. Artists from Al Green to Sam Cooke took notes, and soul music shifted toward deeper vulnerability. If this album feels intimate and heavy, get ready, because the next one brings elegance, grace, and a voice that redefined what strength in R&B could sound like. Number 13, Night Beat by Sam Cooke. Number 13 takes us into the after-hours side of 1960s R&B, where the lights are low and every note feels personal. Released in 1963 on RCA Victor, Night Beat found Sam Cooke stepping away from crossover polish and leaning fully into his soul roots. This album was recorded almost entirely at night, and you can hear it in the mood. Nothing here feels rushed. Everything moves like it has all the time in the world. At this point in his career, Sam Cooke was already a star, but this record feels like he was singing for himself instead of the charts. The arrangements are stripped down, bluesy, and intimate. His voice does not soar as much as it confides. There is a relaxed confidence in every phrase, like he knows exactly who he is and does not need to prove it. One of the most striking things about this album is how modern it still sounds. The guitar lines whisper, the rhythm section swings gently. You can almost imagine the studio lights dimmed, coffee cups on the piano, and musicians locked into a quiet groove long after midnight. Nightbeat did not produce massive hit singles at the time, but its influence runs deep. Artists like Marvin Gaye and Bill Withers would later tap into this same late-night honesty. This album showed that R&B could be subtle, mature, and deeply emotional without losing its soul. If this one felt like a quiet conversation after dark, the next album turns up the intensity with sharper edges, stronger rhythms, and a sound that helped push soul music into a new era. Number 12, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, by Aretha Franklin.
They tell me that you ain't no good.
Number 12 is Where Everything Changes. Released in 1967 on Atlantic Records, this album did not just introduce a star, it announced a queen. This was Aretha Franklin's first major release after leaving Columbia, and the difference was immediate. Recorded at Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals, the sound was raw, southern, and unapologetically soulful. From the first note, you can hear an artist finally standing in her truth. Aretha had already been recording for years, but this album unlocked something deeper. Her voice carried church, heartbreak, defiance, and joy all at once. The title track felt like a confession spoken straight into the listener's chest.
How could he hurt me so bad, so bad?
And then there was Respect, a song that did not ask for anything politely. It demanded recognition, and the world listened. The sessions themselves were tense. Arguments broke out in the studio, and some tracks had to be finished back in New York. But that friction only sharpened the emotion. You can almost feel the heat of the room, the musicians reacting in real time, as Aretha pushed harder and sang like everything was on the line. The album topped the R&B charts and crossed over without losing its soul. More importantly, it changed the direction of the genre. R&B suddenly had a voice that sounded powerful, female, and unstoppable. And if you think that was a turning point, just wait. The next album brings elegance, smoothness, and a velvet touch that defined romance in the 1960s. Number 11, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye.
You know we've got to find a way.
Number 11 brings us an album that felt like a quiet revolution the moment it hit the turntable. Released in 1971, its roots are firmly planted in the late 1960s, when the world was restless and R&B was searching for a deeper voice.
What's going on? Hey, what's going on?
Marvin Gaye was already a Motown star, known for smooth love songs, but this record marked a bold step away from the formula that made him famous. Instead of chasing hit singles, he created a full emotional statement. The songs flowed into each other like a single late-night conversation, touching on war, poverty, environmental fear, and personal confusion. Motown executives were nervous. They did not think socially conscious soul would sell.
People, you know.
Marvin pushed back, insisting this was the music he needed to make. You can almost see the scene when this album first played in homes across America. Living room lights low, the news murmuring in the background, and that warm, layered vocal opening asking a simple question that felt enormous at the time. His voice sounded gentle, but the message carried real weight. The album changed expectations for R&B albums forever.
Don't punish me with brutality.
It proved that soul music could be thoughtful, political, and deeply personal all at once. Artists across genres took notice, from Stevie Wonder to Curtis Mayfield, and albums stopped being just collections of songs. They became statements. If this one made you stop and think, the next album shifts the focus back to love and longing, delivered with a voice so smooth it felt like silk against the skin. Number 10, Lady Soul by Aretha Franklin. Number 10 takes us back to 1968 when Aretha Franklin was no longer just rising. She had arrived, and Lady Soul made sure no one forgot it. Released on Atlantic Records, this album captured her at full power, confident, commanding, and emotionally fearless. This was not an artist searching for her sound anymore. This was an artist defining an era. By this point, Aretha had already reshaped R&B, but Lady Soul refined it. Her voice moved effortlessly between tenderness and authority, sometimes within the same verse. The production leaned into gospel roots, tight rhythm sections, and just enough polish to let her vocals shine without ever smoothing out the grit. You can hear a woman who knows exactly what she brings to the table. There is a sense of celebration all over this record. Even the slower moments feel strong instead of fragile. You can imagine these songs playing from car radios, beauty salons, and living rooms, filling everyday spaces with a feeling of pride and possibility. Her phrasing felt conversational, like she was speaking directly to you instead of performing at you. The album was a commercial and critical success, stacking hit after hit and cementing her role as the defining female voice of late 60s soul. Future generations of singers studied this record closely, not just for technique, but for presence. Lady Soul proved that vulnerability and strength were not opposites. They were partners. If this album felt like confidence wrapped in velvet, the next one digs deeper into introspection, blending poetry, politics, and groove in a way that pushed R&B into bold new territory. Number 9, Curtis by Curtis Mayfield.
While the judge and his juries.
Number 9 brings us an album that sounded like a mirror held up to America in the late 1960s. Released in 1970, Curtis marked Curtis Mayfield's official step into a solo career after years of success with The Impressions. This was not a casual transition.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Everybody praying.
This was a statement of independence, both musically and politically, delivered with calm conviction instead of anger. Curtis had already been writing socially aware songs, but this album gave him full control to expand that vision. The arrangements were rich and layered, blending smooth orchestration with street-level realism.
Police and their backers.
His voice was gentle, almost fragile, yet the messages were powerful. He sang about war, poverty, pride, and survival without ever raising his voice, which somehow made the words hit even harder. You can almost feel the era pressing in when this record plays. City streets buzzing outside, televisions flickering with protest footage, and this album offering clarity in the middle of confusion.
But they keep talking about your way.
It did not shout slogans. It asked you to listen and think. That approach made it timeless. While Curtis did well commercially, its real impact showed up in the artists who followed. Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and later hip-hop pioneers drew inspiration from its honesty and structure. This album proved R&B could be socially conscious without losing warmth or groove. And if this one made you reflect, the next album brings a smoother, more romantic side of soul that felt like a deep exhale after the storm. Number 8, Otis Blue by Otis Redding. Number 8 lands us right in the center of the decade.
Please stay away from me all night.
And right at the emotional crossroads of soul music. Released in 1965 on Stax Records, Otis Blue captured Otis Redding in full command of his powers. This was not just a collection of songs. It was a masterclass in feeling, phrasing, and pure vocal urgency.
Feel this way for so many years.
By this point, Otis was already respected, but this album pushed him into legend territory. He blended original material with daring covers, taking songs by the Rolling Stones and Sam Cooke and completely reshaping them. When Otis sang, he did not imitate. He claimed. His voice sounded like it was pulled from deep inside his chest, rough around the edges, but always honest.
Sometimes I get a little worried.
You can almost see the studio when this record plays. Sweat on the walls, musicians locked in tight, no wasted takes. Everything feels immediate, like the tape is barely holding the emotion together. The horn lines punch and sigh, and Otis sounds like he is living every word as it leaves his mouth. Otis Blue was a critical triumph and helped bridge the gap between R&B and rock audiences at a time when few records crossed those lines naturally. It influenced everyone from British rock singers to future soul greats who learned that perfection mattered less than truth.
Nothing but trouble. Just stay away.
And if this album felt intense and all-consuming, stay with me because we are officially halfway through and the records ahead only dig deeper into the heart of the 1960s. If these 60s R&B albums are bringing back memories or opening up a whole new world, give this video a thumbs up. It helps keep this music alive, and we have 7 more mind-blowing albums still to come. Number 7, A Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke.
Change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
Number 7 brings us an album that feels like a deep breath before a storm and a prayer whispered into history. Released in 1964, just months after Sam Cooke's passing, A Change Is Gonna Come arrived as both a farewell and a prophecy. By this point, Sam had already conquered pop and soul, but this record revealed the full emotional weight he had been carrying near the end of his life.
Long time coming, but I know.
The album balances tenderness with quiet strength. Sam's voice sounds warm and familiar, yet there is a new gravity in his delivery. The title song was inspired by personal experiences with racism and the growing civil rights movement. When it first reached listeners, it did not feel like a hit single. It felt like a moment of truth. You can almost picture families sitting still as that opening line floated through the room, unsure whether to cry or hold on to hope. Behind the scenes, this album marked Sam taking greater creative control, pushing for richer orchestration and deeper themes. That was not always welcomed by the industry, but Sam knew exactly what he wanted to say. And he said it with grace instead of anger, which made the message last even longer. Over time, this album became sacred ground in soul music. Artists from Al Green to Beyonce have drawn inspiration from its emotional honesty. The title track alone has been used in marches, films, and moments of reflection for decades. If this album felt like soul music standing still long enough to speak, the next one brings us back into motion, with rhythm, romance, and a sound that defined Motown's golden glow. Number 6, Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder.
Assimilated.
Number 6 takes us to the very edge of the 1960s spirit. even though the album itself arrived later. The reason it belongs here is simple. The roots of Songs in the Key of Life were planted deep in the late 60s when Stevie Wonder was breaking free from the image of a child prodigy
down my dead end street
and stepping into his role as a complete artist. This album feels like the culmination of everything R&B was becoming at the end of that decade. By the time Stevie recorded this project, he had full creative control, something artists in the 60s fought hard to earn. Every sound feels intentional. The grooves feel lived in. The melodies feel like memories you forgot you had.
like to come with me to LA.
He blended soul, funk, pop, jazz, and social reflection into a record that never feels heavy-handed, only human. You can almost imagine this album playing in the background of everyday life. Open windows, bus light on the floor, kids laughing outside while grown folks talk about the world changing. Stevie sang about love, injustice, joy, and survival with a warmth that made big ideas feel personal.
Dog food now.
That was a very distressing line to a lot of people.
Even though it arrived after the decade officially ended, its heart belongs to the 60s vision of R&B as truth-telling music. This album influenced everyone who followed, from Prince to D'Angelo, and redefined what an R&B album could be. It was not just a set of songs, it was a full experience. And if that felt like a wide-open celebration of life itself, get ready. The next album strips things down and brings the focus back to raw emotion, heartbreak, and a voice that sounded like it had lived every word. Number 5, Stand by Sly and the Family Stone.
For the things you know are.
Number 5 explodes out of the speakers with an album that sounded like the future crashing into the present. Released in 1969 on Epic Records, Stand arrived at the exact moment when R&B, funk, rock, and social change all collided. Sly Stone was not interested in staying inside genre lines. He wanted everyone in the room, and he wanted them moving together.
There's a permanent crease in your right and wrong. Stand.
By this point, Sly had already built a reputation for wild performances and unpredictable energy. But this album sharpened his message. The grooves were joyful on the surface, yet underneath lived themes of equality, resilience, and self-belief. The title track felt like a rallying cry without sounding like a lecture. It invited you to dance first and think later, which made the message slip in naturally. You can almost feel what it was like to hear this record in 1969, college dorm rooms buzzing with debate, block parties spilling into the street, radios blasting from open windows while the world outside felt like it was changing by the hour.
Wait a minute.
The band's mixed race, mixed gender lineup was just as powerful as the music itself, a living statement of what unity could look like. Stand was a commercial breakthrough and a cultural milestone. It pushed R&B into funk territory and influenced everyone from Prince to modern hip-hop producers. And if this album felt like music with its fists raised and a smile on its face, trust me, the next one takes a turn inward, trading crowd energy for quiet intimacy and late-night confession. Number 4, Call Me by Al Green.
Call me, losing your love.
Number 4 slows the pace and lowers the lights with an album that feels like a whispered secret. Released in 1973, Call Me carries the emotional DNA of late 1960s soul, when intimacy and vulnerability were becoming just as important as power.
It's all in the way you feel.
Al Green had already found success, but this record showed a deeper side of his artistry, one shaped by reflection and emotional honesty. Instead of chasing big singles, Al leaned into mood. The songs unfold gently, like pages in a personal journal, His voice floats rather than pushes, soft but precise, filled with longing and restraint. You can hear the influence of gospel and Memphis soul, but everything is delivered with a tender touch that feels almost fragile. It sounds like love remembered rather than love shouted. You can almost picture this album playing late at night, a single lamp on, curtains barely moving, someone sitting alone, letting the music fill the quiet. The arrangements leave space, and Al knows exactly how to use it. Every pause matters. Every breath feels intentional. While Call Me did not explode the way some of his earlier work did, it quietly became one of his most respected albums. Artists across generations have studied it for its emotional control and timeless sound. It proved that soul music did not always need to be loud to be powerful. And if this album felt like a late-night confession, the next one brings a sharper edge, mixing street realism with cinematic storytelling that helped redefine modern R&B. Number 3, hey, There's a Riot Going On by Sly and the Family Stone. Number 3 pulls us into the darker, more complicated side of the late 1960s, where optimism started to crack and reality hit harder. Released in 1971, but born directly out of the chaos of 1969, There's a Riot Going On sounded nothing like the bright unity of Stand. This album felt heavy, murky, and exhausted, and that was exactly the point. Sly Stone was burned out, distrustful, and deeply affected by the changing mood of the country. Instead of clean, upbeat production, he delivered a hazy, stripped-down sound that felt almost claustrophobic. Drum machines replaced live energy. Vocals sounded distant, sometimes barely holding together. It felt like listening through smoke and confusion, which mirrored the emotional state of the era. You can almost feel the weight when this album plays. Dark rooms, drawn curtains, a sense that the dream promised earlier in the decade had come with a cost. Yet, beneath that darkness, there is honesty. Sly was not pretending things were okay. He was documenting disillusionment in real time. The album confused critics at first, but later became one of the most influential R&B and funk records ever made. Artists from Prince to D'Angelo studied its mood and minimalism. It proved that soul music could reflect discomfort just as powerfully as joy. And if this one felt unsettling and raw, brace yourself, because the next album brings clarity, elegance, and a voice that turned pain into beauty with unmatched grace. Number 2, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Number 2 is an album that feels like a soft voice asking hard questions and somehow making you listen closer instead of pulling away. Released in 1971 but conceived in the final, turbulent years of the 1960s, What's Going On captured Marvin Gaye at a turning point both personally and artistically.
Don't punish me with brutality.
He was grieving, disillusioned, and deeply aware that the world around him was hurting. This was not the Marvin Gaye Motown expected. Instead of romantic singles, he delivered a fully connected album that flowed like a single thought. War, police brutality, environmental decay, and emotional exhaustion all surfaced, wrapped in lush harmonies and gentle grooves.
What's going on? Hey, what's going on?
Motown resisted at first, unsure if audiences were ready. Marvin stood his ground, and history proved him right. You can almost imagine the first time this album played in a living room, the television off, the room quiet. That opening question hanging in the air, not demanding an answer, just understanding.
People, you know.
Marvin's voice sounded warmer than ever, layered and compassionate, like he was standing beside you rather than above you. The album became a landmark, not just for R&B, but for music as a whole. It showed that soul could be reflective, socially aware, and deeply human without losing beauty. And as powerful as this record is, nothing prepares you for what stands at number one, an album that distilled love, loss, and soul into pure perfection. Number one, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You by Aretha Franklin.
They tell me that you ain't no good.
Number one stands as the moment when 1960s R&B fully found its voice and never looked back. Released in 1967 on Atlantic Records, this album did more than make Aretha Franklin a star. It changed the emotional language of soul music forever. This was not polish or crossover ambition. This was truth recorded live, imperfect and powerful. By the time these sessions began, Aretha had spent years searching for the right setting. At Fame Studios and Muscle shows, everything finally clicked. The band played loose but locked in, and Aretha led from the piano, shaping every phrase with instinct and authority. Her voice did not just sing, it testified. You can hear gospel roots, romantic pain, confidence, and defiance all living in the same breath.
How could he hurt me so bad?
There was tension during the sessions, arguments, walkouts, songs finished elsewhere. Yet none of that weakened the record, it sharpened it. When respect hit the speakers, it no longer belonged to Otis Redding or anyone else. It became an anthem of self-worth, strength, and demand. You can almost feel the electricity of hearing it for the first time, radios turned up, hearts pounding. The album topped the charts, reshaped the role of women in soul music, and set a new standard for emotional honesty. Every R&B singer who followed felt its influence. This was not just the best album of the decade. It was a turning point in music history. From late-night confessionals to songs that moved nations, these albums remind us why the 1960s were a golden age for R&B. Thank you for taking this soul-filled journey with me. If you felt this music the way I did, subscribe to keep the groove alive. And up next on the end screen, click through to continue the countdown with 15 most iconic R&B songs from 1970s that defined the era that followed. The story does not end here.